Good morning. So I'm going to quickly go through Unicron's antitrust policy before we start. Anybody else who's here? Kathy, maybe you can say a few words as to how this came to be.
Yes, I would say probably about 5 to 7 years ago, we as a board, and at the time I was on the board, we were really concerned with thinking about how we are in the position of developing others, but so little time is spent on our own development. And so the idea was, how can we develop and inspire and transform our own leaders in advancing your roles within exec ed? And we had a very, if you can well imagine, we designed a very large and elaborate program, and then we brought it to sort of a blended program. And then this year, we're likely looking at a 100% online program based on the times and how things may play out. But again, it was really looking at what can we do with us and for us as a community. So it's university leaders doing the teaching and the mentoring with other university leaders and advancing your development.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy's been involved in this program since the start, and she and Kelly Bean have done a wonderful job bringing this forward. This fifth Unicron Leadership Academy is a bit different. It still has the same purpose. It still wants to do the same thing. But as you obviously understand, in these new reality we're living, we had to totally redesign the program to fit what we're going through. So we decided we would not change what we want to do. And what we want to do with this program is develop, inspire, and transform. So this fifth Unicron Leadership Academy, when we do it by Zoom, it will be different. It will not be held like a webinar where you have panelists and you can't see the people. We will do it as a group, and it will be very participative because we need to develop, inspire, and transform. And unless we do that all together, it's very difficult. This program was originally designed by Kelly and Bean, and it was for university-based leaders trying to transition to roles that advance their leadership positions. I hear from you that you've already done that transition. So maybe what you're looking to is to make it easier and to make it flow better. And this program will include a lot of teamwork, a lot of projects, but we will be working as a team on Zoom. So you guys familiar with teaching on Zoom so far? Have you guys had to do it so far?
I've done over the course of teaching, yeah, a lot of online work. I don't think I've ever done, there may have been some workshops that I've done on Zoom, so limited experience with Zoom for me.
I haven't, Monica, I haven't, I'm not part of the faculty, but I've worked with Zoom quite a lot over the years and using it lots now for our designing of our online programs designing and delivery, of course. So I'm quite familiar with it.
Okay, so I can proudly say that I have never done any Zoom teaching. That's not the proud part until March last year. Since March, I think I do about 12 or 30 hours of Zoom teaching a week. And I can proudly say we just finished a 3-week program when we managed a lot of interaction. And what I'm happy about Zoom is you can retain about 30% or 40% of the interaction once you can see people. Right now, I'm just seeing pictures of you guys and hearing your voices, so that's why I'm feeling disconcerted, and that's what happened when we all had to move online. We lost our touch with reality, but that's what we're dealing with. We have to not replicate what we were doing in the face-to-face world, but figure out a way to get all the different parts we had in a program in a Zoom reality or a virtual reality. And that's what we're planning on doing. And that's why we had to completely redesign the Leadership Academy, because we need to get that feeling. Have any of you guys spoken to previous participants about how the experience was?
I haven't.
Okay.
I have, yeah. I mean,
What did they tell you?
well, it depends. I mean, it can be very effective and have all the intimacy of a face-to-face course. But I think a lot of the feedback we get depends on how it's structured, because you can't really, for the most part, you can't really do 6 or 8 hours a day.
I've been doing 12.
There you go. Okay. So there you go.
The only way you can do 12 is it has to be a different modality than what we're using now.
Yeah.
You can go into small groups, you can go into large groups, you can interact, you can go forth, backward, coming, but you have to make it interactive. Otherwise, it is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, we have to build a business model like this, because you're in different places in the world. Is any of you going back face to face pretty soon?
Not soon, no.
Not soon, yeah.
Okay. So that was what was behind the whole redesign of this program. We have to still deliver the value, but maybe we need a new business model. Maybe we need a different way to deliver all that our participants want and need. So here first are you, my participants, which are individuals who want a T-shaped leadership within the executive education industry. And that's the difference between this program and other programs. I teach, for example, in other EFMD programs, and it's very different because there the participants I get are either deans or associate deans, and they're most in the degree side of the business. This program totally caters to the non-degree executive education side of the business. And there's a huge difference. Can anybody sort of say something as to what you think the biggest difference is? We've got to deliver the money. We've got to make the cut. So it's not just enough to get student satisfaction. We actually have to bring the money in. What we're trying to do with this program is find a different way for people who have at least 2 years university experience. It sounds like a lot of you have more, that want to advance in executive education. So what will you get here? This is, as I said, the first ever program focused on development for executive education professional. It doesn't mean there's no other programs around for university people, but this one's for executive education. And as I mentioned, we need business models that deliver a lot of money. So we have to work on that. Hands-on approach. We need, we'll have teamwork, we will have individual assignments, and what we will look is at our business model proposition. Maybe we can still keep it, but maybe not. We will fully integrate it into the Team Development Conference. You all know by now that the Team Development Conference will probably also be online, and it will be held by Arizona State University, and we will build part of that experience into the program. We will also try to learn from global leaders, and when I mean try, it's not that we're not going to get it. We're going to get a lot of people from Unicron and Unicron emeritus members and different Unicron people to work with us, but we will have leaders who will tell us about how to run a business executive education program. And you will find out that we all have different business models to cater to different needs. We will accelerate your advancement, even though some of you are already in a position, and we will try to have an impact peer networking and peer learning experiences. And that's why I asked the first question about you guys, having heard more about what went on in the previous academy. I think one of the most valuable things that this academy gives you is a cohort of people who can actually share with you different learnings. So we have people who are in the States, we have people who are in South Africa. I don't know, people from Asia will be joining or not. What we're looking is for incremental learning. We're missing an N right there in a learning. And we're going to use different building blocks around these 9 months to build a value proposition, not for just for our business, but also for our persons. We will also, we're looking at people who can move into a director's level. So this is a general leadership program. It's not specific for operations, not specific for marketing. It looks at the broader picture, an integral picture of the model. So you get a Unicron certificate at the end of this. How much does it cost? Well, we've lowered the price significantly because you guys used to get food and different things attached. So it's a $500 US investment, and the Team Development Conference is not included. So you have to ask about scholarship options if you need it. What does that mean? If you're in a country that is specifically hit right now by the COVID situation and your university is going a particularly different time, it doesn't mean you will not pay tuition, but you could apply for some discount. There's a committee that will look into it. It's not, this program is not developed as a business. It is one of the things Unicron provides as service to its membership. Okay, so.
Monica, how many people how many people do you take per cohort?
We're talking about 14 to 20 people usually. We've had as little as 8 or 10.
Okay.
Yes, Ian, your hand's raised. Go ahead.
Yes, so just making sure you can hear me now. I've managed to hopefully sort out my microphone.
Yeah, the volume's a bit low, but I can hear you.
Okay, so hello, just to say my name's Ian from Warwick Business School in the UK. I've just moved into an operations director role within executive education. And I was just wondering the kind of international split across the delegates that you've had in the past, just to get an idea of the kind of international side, really.
That's great, Ian. So it's nice to hear we have people from different parts of the world. And that's something that's important when we come to how we plan this. We will have to look at the cohort, and we will have to look at how many people we have, and we'll have to look at time zones, and we will be moving around time zones so everybody is able to join and participate, because as I said, this will be very participative. Any more questions before we move into the learning objectives and outcomes? Okay, so as we said, we're going to expand the network. It's not just going to be the participants. You're going to be meeting the different people who will be teaching. We will also be inviting people who have been through the program, alumni, and we will meet industry leaders who will tell you about their experiences. We will look at stakeholder expectations because we have a very difficult time in executive education. We have to run a business, whereas we have to cater to a lot of faculty that need a lot of taking care of. And in the end, we answer to the university presidents who in the end could be called politicians. So there's different stakeholders who need different things. And we have to figure out how we can handle all those stakeholders. We have to innovate. We have to innovate really fast and effectively, acquiring new frameworks. And if that was relevant before, for this 5th generation, we have to be ready to react. It is possible that ES is now holding successful face-to-face programs. It is also possible that come the end of the year, when they go into their winter, they would have to go back to online. So how do you navigate that? How do you deliver value? We will look at advanced problem solving, decision making, and critical thinking skills. So how are we going to do all that? It sounds like a lot, doesn't it? So this is the program structure, which is what I'm sure you'll really hear all about. we're going to start early October, and we're going to start with a networking event where we'll all be able to share a little bit about ourselves, what we like, what we do, and we'll look at, I say a welcome and networking event. It'll take about an hour. I don't know if it's going to be a coffee event or a cocktails event, or wherever you are in the world, bring your favorite beverage, and we can, some have wine, others can have tea, or the other way around. So we get to meet and get the sense that we belong together and we form a cohort. I keep saying that though the distance, that not being able to be face-to-face puts a distance between us, I have now invited all of you into my bedroom, which is where I have my desk. You would never, ever have visited my bedroom had we been having this program online. So we can build a different sense of intimacy, which of course doesn't mean visiting each other's bedroom. It means inviting people into our lives, our houses, how we're dealing with all this. Then we will immediately go into the subject. And we are in a tough business. We're in the business of developing business leaders. And we will use an exercise, a methodology that's called appreciative inquiry, to look into what's brought us here, the best of what we've had in Exec Ed, what we're seeing now, what it's changing, and the future of executive education. So we will be practicing for 4 hours. In October, yes, in the late October, we will start looking at the ever-changing landscape. I must tell you that I've been part of Unicron for 20 years now, and things are always changing. And we will be seeing what is happening now in the landscape of executive education. I can't tell you what will be going on in October because I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you I know people who are always on the dot and looking at what's happening, and they will be joining us for a 2-hour webinar on what is happening. Then we will have the team conference. And as I said, it's going to be a 2-day commitment. What we're seeing right now with travel restrictions, what's going on worldwide, that will also be an online event. We will have a networking event where we'll meet different people from Unicron, from the board. You will have chances to form small groups, discuss, talk. And that will be November. And that will bring us to the end of this 2020 year. And hopefully by 2020, we'll have a different outcome. But something that will not have changed is we'll have to deliver value to our customers. And that will take about an hour and a half of your time, and it will be done for a webinar, which time we will try to schedule so all of you can attend, but we will be also recording it. Then, once we have a value proposition for our customers, we have to reach out to them, engage with them. So when I say reaching out, what we will doing is, how do we go out and find our customers? A lot of us, we're still visiting, doing business trips, visiting organizations. How do you reach out in a world with social isolation? And we will be talking about that for a couple of hours. It doesn't mean that this will all only work when we have social isolation. It will mean when you, how do you reach out in different and novel ways? So any doubts so far? So once we reach out, we have a value proposition for our customers, we have to reach out, then we have to figure out, okay, it's great, but what will they exactly be willing to pay for? We knew they were willing to pay for catering. We knew they were willing to pay for a lot of things. What are customers willing to pay for now? And that is key to building a value proposition. And of course, as every month, we will have a networking event. By March and April, we will work on what is called a building value proposition using the business model Canvas. And that will be an interactive, team-driven exercise where we will all try to practice the business model Canvas and see if we have a business model that works with everything we've seen so far, or we have to look at something different. We will be looking at that point just at the value proposition, what the clients want, what we can deliver, and what clients can pay for, and how do we reach them. After we do that, once we have a value proposition, we have to deliver it. So we will talk about operations. Operations may sound a little glamorous, but it's the make it or break it difference in the business we hold. Now we have to run a different kind of operations, but we spent a lot of our budget having people receive our guests, give out different handbooks, produce materials, talk to them. So what is operations really all about? After that, we have to see how we make the most of our assets, because not all of us are equally positioned, not even geographically, nor do we have the same kind of assets. So how do we make the most of them? Do those fit with what the client wants? So we will have another webinar of how we make the most of our assets. And of course, we will have a networking event. We cannot do all this on our own, so we will need to build alliances. And we will do that by talking to different people in the university. Alliances can be with our clients, alliances can be with consultants, alliances can be with different schools in a university, or it can be with a different set of people. I have seen alliances start being open, more and more open in the last 20 years. So how do you go around by building them? Finally, we need to make business. We have to make a business that works. So we need a budget sheet that actually works, that considers everything we said before and tells us how we're actually going to make money. And we will have another networking event. In June, at the end of our program, we will talk about our own leadership skills, but this will not be the first time. If you look at the bottom of the sheet, we will have a 360 instrument used throughout. We will be using SkillScope. SkillScope is an instrument that was developed by CCL, and it has been used all over the world. And SkillScope is an instrument that is pretty easy to interpret because it doesn't focus on what I'm thinking of what I'm trying to attempt. SkillScope focuses on what people see you doing. So it is a great way to see how you effectively are running a business, both with the people who report to you, with your peers, and with your bosses. And we will be using the SkillScope throughout the program. We will also have this piece onto how to be a better you. So finally, this is all going to come together. This is all going to come together. Anybody here who can actually unmute their mic, familiar with the business model canvas by Osterwalder? If not, you can put it on the chat.
I'm familiar with the business model canvas, Monica, and I've used it as well for my business.
Has it worked for you, Kamishi?
I'm actually, yeah, it has worked for us. I use it for different parts of the strategy. I'm currently using it for our digital transformation strategy at the moment, which has been quite interesting. Yeah.
Well, the idea is that we together work on a business model that will help us both on our online custom, on our face-to-face custom, on our online open enrollment, on our face-to-face open enrollment, and see what we need to do, what we need to develop to be able to remain competitive in this ever-changing landscape. So if you will allow me to revisit the whole slide, there is a flow that starts with, why are we in this business? What is happening in this business? We will go to our team development conference to find out what is going on in the executive education Unicron arena. Then we will go back and look at our customers. How do we deliver value to them in this new landscape? How do we approach them? How do we reach out? Would they be willing to pay the price for that? Then we will build a value proposition, and we will see what we can deliver and what the customer wants. We will see what we have to do in order to be able to deliver that. How do we make the most out of our assets? And finally, who do we need to build alliances with to make that happen? We will all have to make that crystallize into cash flows, which will be in our budget sheets. And we, of course, to be able to accomplish all that and have that all flow, have to be great leaders who can inspire people, make faculty, admins, everybody come together. So how do we bring it all together? We put it all on a business model canvas. And that is the final project of our Unicron Leadership Academy. Any questions so far? Okay. So what happens with your personal plan? Because I said you would have a business model plan, but also a personal plan. Well, Unicron Leadership Academy has a mentoring feature designed in here. And it goes on from January till April. This year, we will also have the skill scope, which will allow each and every one of you decide what parts of your leadership skills you want to work with. So we assign you to different mentors depending on personalities, and you establish rapport and discuss what you're going to do. There are different mentoring resources we're going to be using, and you will have 2 mentoring sessions that are included in the Unicron Leadership Academy. Well, you will establish what you want to do and then see how you're going to conducting mentoring conversations. I have to tell you that I have some people I have been mentoring for already a couple of years now, because we've established a great relationship. And as things change and they move up in their careers, we have continued this meeting, but that's entirely optional. It's up to you and your mentoring. Cathy, as being the person in charge of the mentoring part of the academy, would you like to say anything?
You know, I think you've covered it quite well. Monica is, you know, our penultimate mentor, but the idea is that we match personality as well as sort of, you know, what your desired goals are. So and where you are in the world. So we try to make sure, or your position even within your organization, that there's mutual benefit. And the mentors, I think, gain as much from the relationship as you do, because it's great to be sort of always in touch with, you know, our rising leaders and all of that. So yeah, so it's a matching process, and I think that everyone benefits.
I can vouch for that. I have been a faculty member and also a mentor, as I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, for years now. And one of the parts I mostly enjoyed is the mentoring part, because you get to meet really great people. And always when you are in a mentoring program, I would say it's 2 ways, and both the mentor and the mentee discover a lot of things and move forward. So this is one of my favorite parts of this program. Thank you, Cathy. And well, there's some testimonials you can read here, but I'd much rather listen to you guys. But I can tell you that people who have been through this program, well, some of them are now sitting on the Unicron board. Some of them are running now their shops. Some of them have been advancing in their career. I think we've had a great experience, which Cathy can vouch for, because she's been keeping in close contact with all alumni. I know some of them. And well, I know all of them, but I keep in close contact with some of them. And I think overall, it's been a great program. Some of the people who work for me have actually gone through it, and they say it's been one of the most valuable learning experiences they've ever had in Unicron.
Yeah. So, Monica, thank you so much for the presentation. I think even though you couldn't interact with us face to face, I mean, you've done a great job of explaining what this program, how it will roll out. And I mean, looking at the program, and as I said, I've been interested in doing it for the last few years, but when I look at the program, and just from, you know, I've been in exec ed for 7 years now, and 5 of those years in the director position. So, you know, and it's just very personal. I'm just thinking, you know, a lot of what's in the program, I have already done, you know, in terms of experience. I've got a mentor. I've done a lot of this. I've interacted with our clients. I've got a very robust strategy for the school and for exec ed. And, you know, I mean, do you or have you found people that has, you know, the experience that I have? And I mean, obviously it's not tens or decades of experience in exec ed, but it's a fair amount of experience, and you know, everything from accreditations to rankings to business development, and now navigating this COVID pandemic. You know, I've been at the forefront of it, and then lots of personal mastery, you know, lessons and team development courses as well. So I'm just wondering about what, in addition to already what I have, I mean, would this be something, would there be other things that I could gain from this course? Have you seen someone with, you know, my experience come onto this course? Just, you know, what do you think?
I think definitely, and you should know, I was also involved, and I'm responsible for the EFMD executive program for the Americas, and that's where people talk about rankings and all the things you've mentioned. I would say what is totally different about the Unicron Leadership Academy is no matter how much experience you've had in a university, how many rankings and accreditation process you've been a part of, the difference between executive education and everything else in the university is the bottom line. At the end of the day, we interact with clients. We are allowed to call them clients, where in the rest of the university, you call them participants. And that's what we focus on in this program. How do you actually serve your clients better? And how do you actually be able to run a good business in executive education? So the main difference here would be, and I would say that the people who will be speaking are very savvy at running a very successful business inside a university, which I'm sure you are too. But hearing how they do it from different business models, to me, and I can tell you, I've been in this industry, well, for over 25 years. I used to be Associate Dean for MBA programs. I've been part of Unicron for 20 years. And when I moved into executive education, I figured out that there's very different things in the realm of executive education that are not necessarily in what you see in everything else. So I do think there is an interesting experience of sharing with people in different universities with different business models. I can tell you that I run the exercise. I've been the one teaching the business model part for 5 years. And even though I'm the one facilitating, I learn every single time we work through the exercise. I don't know if that answers your question.
That definitely answers my question. Thanks, Monica.
Thank you. Well, I have a few questions for people who can't open their mic. Do we believe we can do something face-to-face in June? Well, it could happen. We could get a vaccine, we could get travel restrictions lifted, and we could definitely see if we could do something face-to-face in June. The issue here is the face-to-face part of the program has always been linked to the team development conference, which takes place in November. But we could also look into having something take place face-to-face in June, wherever the workshop is, and if we're holding it. But I would hold my horses, because right now that would entail extra spending for your universities. Right now we're considering that you don't have to spend on a travel budget, but it could definitely happen. I see no reason not. It could also be optional. We could also explore, I haven't even thought about this, doing something face-to-face with alumni and whoever can make it next time we are able to get a face-to-face conference going. Does that answer your question, Gretel? Hope so. Kate wants to know what a tertiary inquiry is about. Okay, that's a technique that was developed by Dave Cooper-Ryder and Case Western, and it is something, it is a very powerful technique because it's based on positive psychology, and it's a technique that goes to rediscovering the best of what has been, what gives you life, what makes you love what you do. Look about what is changing right now, what is different, and how do we move into the future while retaining the best of what was in the past, but adapting to the new constraints we're facing. So it's really a planning exercise, and it's an exercise that helps to think out of the box and think of what was behind what I really like to do. Does that answer your question, Kate? So Greta wants to ask how she applies to the program. And can you put out in the panelist answers? Yes, I will go back and put on the website, but I'm sure you will be able to get it. So how do you apply? You go to this link. If you have any questions, you can also contact me. And that is also on the website, how you can do that. And I can answer more questions. Robert, do you have any questions, or Ian, or anybody who can actually open up their mic? Or are we?
No, yeah, thank you for asking. I think I'm good. It looks like a very intense and involved program, and I'm looking forward to meeting different people from around the globe and networking. So thank you.
Yes, we will make sure that we have as much networking as possible. I can tell you, we've been actually participating with other. I served on the Unicron board for 6 years and I actually chaired the Unicron board years and years ago, which makes you an emeritus, which means you remain in touch with board members, and we figured out a way to network and keep in touch using Zoom. So you would be a part of it. You would be introduced to Unicron board and the Unicron board members, so you can actually network and ask them questions. And that's what's very, very valuable.
Perfect,
Bob,
thank you.
Bob, this is Cathy Shea. What is nice about the Unicron Leadership Academy is that you're new to the industry, and it takes a while to get to find folks to help you sort of in this informal peer-to-peer networking. And this is a fast track to that. So what we have found with each cohort, I mean, we run the program and it's formal, but then there's this, there's a what apps thing going on. So each cohort has their own way to communicate and work with each other. And as Monica said, through the extended alumni and other parts that other folks you'll meet through this. So it's, you'll be most efficient in getting up to speed and networking that many of us, like Monica and I, have been in this business for a while, took a little longer to get going.
Sure. Thank you, Cathy.
Okay, I think. Okay, so Dan just sent you the link also. Ian, go ahead, you raise your hand.
Yeah, thank you. Just two questions really. I wonder if you've got any alumni that's been through the scheme from the UK that I could perhaps have an informal chat with, just to get a bit more depth around the experience on the programme. And the second one was around, is there a particular deadline for making the application? The only reason being, I'm not likely to get too much funding from my university until early September, when the student numbers are kind of confirmed, and obviously the revenue that they'll then have for any staff development. So I wonder if there a hard deadline that we're kind of aiming to
get that information to you, but it really depends on how this developed. This is the very, very first time we run this program completely online and redesigned. So we're looking into see how we get responses, especially from time zones where it's more difficult to join. I think Europe and Africa are fine, but as you probably have noticed, we don't have anybody from Asia on this webinar, even though we do have some participants interested in joining. So we will have to sort all that out.
Sure, thank you. That's helpful. Yeah, thank you.
The letter of recommendation from your leader, yes, definitely. I don't know, any other questions, anything you would like to?
I do have another question.
Sure, Robert.
So there's the fee for the program, but then there's also, you mentioned something about the team, there's a team conference fee. So what would be, and we would participate in that, I'm assuming. So what, like overall, what's the ballpark in terms of cost?
Unfortunately, I cannot answer to that because I don't know what the fee for the fall conference it will be. But it will be around $1,000. I mean, the full tuition. I estimate another 500 for the conference, but it could be less. We don't know really.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Now, remember, there's no travel, no expensive. You will probably ask, where does that fee go to? Honestly, a lot of it goes to the instrument you're going to get, the Skill Scope by CCL. You can research it. And CCL has one of the best 360s around. CCL is one of the best leadership executive education units around. They only do leadership. They're not university based, but the instrument is quite pricey.
Oh no, I think that the fees they're fine. I mean, I just wanted some clarity as to what they might be. So no complaints.
Okay.
I'm not trying to get a discount.
Okay.
Although if you have discounts.
About
Kidding,
the discounts.
I'm kidding.
It's funny, nobody asked. Why did we come up with discounts?
Yeah.
There are parts of the world who are over COVID. We even heard that ESA is already doing face-to-face programs. And there's part of the world that are getting hit very, very badly.
Yeah.
And our different schools around Unicron are facing different challenges that we normally do. And Unicron is a volunteer membership organization where everything we do is not for profit. Everything we do is to serve our membership, but we believe we have to serve them where it's best. So we understand that right now the situation, let's say the field is not even, and we want to make sure that people who need development most don't get left out because of things that are going on in their countries and their universities. Well, thank you all for yes, go ahead.
Thanks, Monica. I wanted to just say thank you. Thanks for the presentation and all the information. It's been really valuable to be part of this. It's given me a lot more information to take to the head of the school. I'm probably going to be one of those people that are going to ask for a further discount. And you would have seen it from the Unicron survey where, exec ed right now, the business school, well, yeah, our whole school is just in severe distress in terms of where things are at. But yeah, if I don't do it this year, then I'll attempt next year. But yeah, but I wanted to say thank you. I have to take my leave right now. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
You too.